All right, guys. So welcome to the sixth session, part two of the Diverse Node Mobility Front and Development Program. Today we will discuss the continuation of Module 7 that specifically focus on the laboratory activities. So here I'm going to share my screen to you. And right, so this laboratory is its objective is to familiarize with working with files, reading from a file, and writing from a file. The scenario would be write a program that copies itself and adds line numbers to each line. You can assume constant file names. And first, open the file in read mode, then open the copy file in write mode. After that, line by line, get the lines from the source file, append the number of the line to the destination file, and append the line content. Remember to close both files. Note a real program, it's important to check whether all the needed files exist and that you can create a copy. In our program, you should at least check that both files have been successfully opened. And if one of the fopen function fails, then print the message error opening a file and the end of the program. So if it is success, if you have a success message, then this probably give you unexpected output copy of source file with line numbers. And if it is error, then it will print error opening file. So first thing that we need to do is add a header file, which is include string.h, and then we have the main function. Inside this one, we will, since we are going to declare character, okay, so I'm going to, let's say, buffer, and then I'm going to give it a limited number on 100, and after that going to declare the prototype. Okay, I'm going to rename file source. Okay, so let us assume that we are going to open a file since it is on the scenario. Open the file in the read mode. Okay, so we are going to open the file. Just let it name like main C, that C, then R for Unix. Then let's have our if else, our if nested here. File source equals null puts error opening a file return 1, and then another prototype after that, just like we did in the first part, and this one will be destination, right? So we're going to add an assignment here, which is equals to fopen, and then the file, which is main copy, let's see. And right. W stands for right. Right. So going to add here another if, and its parameter would be file destination is equals to null, and then inside of the if block, going to add puts function and going to say error. If it is an error, sorry, here is the error output here. Okay, so I'm going to return that into 1. Then another declaration for initiation variable, which is I equals to 0. And then I'm going to add another variable, and I'm going to name it last whole line. Right, going to, okay, next one would be a while loop. While loop with fgets function. So guys, probably this program will give us the error message because this compiler is just an online. You cannot open any file here, C file here, because this is an online IDE. All you need to do is download an IDE. Okay, so the parameter of this would be the buffer, which is the character array, and then going to have the size of, and then inside of that would be the buffer and the file source, which is the original source, right? Okay, next, don't forget the curly braces for us um to make it clear in the block. Let's have int len or length strlen, and then let's have the buffer, the character. Okay, don't forget the semicolon and another if nested here. If else, I think if else, we're going to use if else. All right, so going to use this one. This variable is going to have another block, and then let's use printf. Okay, so I'm going to add here file destination percent s. All right, so forgot file destination is a integer, and then going to add a string, which is the buffer. And then don't forget the semicolon. Oh, I is for the D, right? So this should be semicolon. Okay, and then going to add an increment, Got it. All right, so let's have the else if here. Else f print f, and then file destination. Of course, what is the type of the buffer? It is string, right? Then just add the buffer at the end as the argument. And then let's have the if else here, and its parameter would be buffer len is -1 and then equals to \n for the new line. Then let's have its expression, which is last whole line is equals to 1. Then another else here, since we are using if else nested loop. Okay, so else here. Okay, so if the condition does not meet the if parameters, then it will run the else condition. Okay, so sub 0. Okay, now it's time for us to close the stream. Okay, so let's have f close here and file source and also the file destination. All right. So I'm going to run this one, and absolutely we will get an error because this program is only for IDE. Okay, so let's have the next activity. So that would be the logic of the scenario on how we write them in C language. Okay, so let's have the second scenario here. All right, so this is the laboratory 2, and the objective is to familiarize the students working with files, reading from a file, simple data processing, loop over file content. Right, so we are going to use loop. Okay, so here we'll have a scenario and the right to the program that counts the metrics of a file, number of all characters, number of white spaces, number of lines, and number of all lowercase letters. So you can assume constant file names to speed up your programming. You can test your program on its source code. First, open the file in the read mode. After the character by character, read the file and count the number asked. Remember to close the file. Note, in a real program, it is important to check whether all files needed actually exist and that you can read their contents. In our program, you should at least check the files have been successfully opened. If the fopen function fails, the print message error opening file and end the program. There is only one instance of output from your program. Your output can vary depending on the file content, so this would be the expected output. All right, so all right, guys, so I just used a sample solution here. Okay, so as you can see, we have used the sample solution, and all of this were supposed to was declared on the scenario. Okay, so first we have declared character count, and we have white spaces count, line counts in the file source, and small letter counts. And we also declared file and F, which stands for file, and we have F open, open the stream, and then which is main.c and then rt, right? So here the file source is equals to null, and puts error opening a file. And we have also declared the do loop, as we have see here that we are going to loop over file content. Okay, so the loop would be f as c is equals to f get c, then f, and then if c is equals to end of file, then break, then character count plus plus, because we are going to count a character, right? And we also have the c the if conditional statement, which is if c is equals to backspace, or c is equals to new line, or c is equals to tab, then white spaces count increment. Or if c is equals to new line, then lines count plus plus. Or c is greater than or equals to a, and c is less than or equals to z, then small letter count z. C minus a plus increment uh, plus or equals to 1. And we have, after the do loop, we have the while loop. Then all you have noticed will we are having the parameter c is not equal to 0, and the printf would be lines is increment, which is lines count, and then the white spaces characters, and we have the character. And we also declare the for loop. This is to the process of small letters, which is I is equals to 0 and I is less than or equal to z, um to a, then I increment. All right, so here, all right, so take a sec, wait a sec. All right, so if we are going to run this program, we are also getting the result error opening a file, since we are using online IDE. So if you like to run those sample solution and while analyzing it, you can download Eclipse for C language. Right, so let's have the third laboratory. All right, so here's the third laboratory activity. The objective of it is to working with files, reading from a file, writing to a file. Write a program that will copy a file. However, there is a destination file, then the program should try to create a new file with a new file name until the moment destination has been created. Remember to close both files. Note, in a real program, it is important to check whether all files needed actually exist, and you can create a copy. In our program, you should at least check if both files have been successfully opened. If the fopen function for the source file fails, then the program should print the message error opening file. And end of the program, in the process of creating a file fails, then you should change the name of the destination file. You can append an integer number to the old file name. Think about the limit of the number of attempts to create a file. And if you create too many files, it could be hard to use a directory that contains this file. If your program has reached this limit, then it should print the message file count limit reached, and end of the program. Then here's the expected output if you already successfully open a file. So since we are using online IDE, then we cannot open a file. All right, so let's take a look on the scenario and let us code it one by one. All right, so we have the last laboratory, the last part of the session, 7. Okay, so the objective of this activity is to write, is to familiarize working with files, reading from a file, and writing to a file. And the scenario would be write a program that will copy a file. However, if there is a destination file, then the program should try to create a new file until the moment a destination file has been created. Remember to close both files. So in the real program, it is important to check whether all the files needed actually exist and that you can create a copy. In our program, you should at least check both files have been successfully opened. And if the fopen function for the source file fails, then the program should print the message error opening file. At the end of the program, if the process of creating a file fails, then you should change the name of the destination file. You can append an integer number to the old file name and think about the limit of the number and of attempts to create a file. Then it depends on the program system and of course on the specific needs of your program. If you create too many files, it could be hard to use the directory that contains this file. If your program has reached this limit, then it should print the message file count limit reached and end of the program. So the expected output is that we are going to copy a source file with a new file name. All right. So here, since we are talking about strings, let's include add in hash include strings.h. Okay. And then from this line, after the comment, we are going to write our code, and I'm going to declare a character here that is an array and equals to a limit number 100. All right, so here's another one. We are going to start the prototype for pointer, which is file source. Okay, let's name it file source, and then let's start opening the stream. Open, and then let's say that is main. Let's see, and then oh, forgot this. Okay, here, and then let's add R, stands for read, and then if file source is equals to null, and then let's have our block here, and let's use puts function, and let's print error message, error opening file. Okay, so don't forget to return. So since we are using stream, okay, so let's have another declaration of character, and let us name that file name. And of course, since file name talks about string, let us have the name of that, and file name max its parameter, and let's have the main copy since it is a duplication. Okay, that's C. And then we are going now to create a pointer here, which is the prototype, the default prototype of stream. Okay, so we are going to file exist handler is equals to fopen, then of course, which is or what is the variable file name, and then let's have R for read, and then semicolon. All right, so let's have another declaration of the integers. Okay, let's have the try limit. Tries limit is equals only 2. Okay, let's have 500. And then int, what do you think? Okay, tries count. Let's have, of course, 0. And let's start doing the while loop. Okay, here, and since we used a pointer file exist handler, we are going to put it inside the while. Okay, and don't forget the block. All right, so inside here, the while loop, we are going to add f close for file exist handler. And after that, the decrement. So how the decrement would be thrice count. The thrice count variable. Okay, so now after that, before exiting the while loop, don't forget we are going to add another conditional statement. I'm going to use for it is if, and then tries count, going to check the tries count. If it is greater than the tries limit, because if it is greater than, then we will print file count limit reach, right? Okay, so let's have the block here, and then puts file count reached, right? Then let's have the return one, and from that we are going to use sprintf function, okay, outside the if statement but inside a while loop. Okay, let's use that, and then of course the file name, and then main copy, of course. So what do you think are we going to um use if we are going to rename the file name? Okay, so we are going to add here %d and then c. Okay, so the user can enter any file name after the main copy underscore, and then we will have the tries count. Okay, so don't forget the semicolon. All right, so let's have the file exist handler and create open another stream. Exist handler. Okay, and let's have f open stream function, then file name, and then r. Okay, so after that, we are going to exit the while loop. Okay, here. Okay, so let's have another prototype for string here, which is file, and we are going now to use destination, file destination, and then let's open the file. F open, then file name, and then W. Here we are going to create a if statement here, and the parameter will be file destination. File destination is equals to null. Then don't forget to add block. Okay, so we are going to write here inside that we are opening error opening file. Okay, since the file destination is null. Okay, so let's have a puts error opening file. Then don't forget the semicolon and then return it to 1. Right, so after that we will have the while loop. So the while loop here, we are going to, what do you think? Okay, so the f gets function, and we are going to use buffer. Okay, since that would be the string, a variable that we have used earlier, buffer, and then size of the buffer to measure it, to measure the string. And then file source. Right, so after that we are going to add the block, and we are going to use fprintf file destination, and then percent is, and then buffer. All right, so fprintf file destination. Okay, so we will have the, what do you think is the closing function for the string? Of course, that is fclose for file source and file destination. All right, so we are done, and expecting that um, we are going to get this error because we cannot open a file and even duplicate it and even rename the file since we are only using online IDE. Okay, so if I'm going to run this one, yeah, just like what I've said, error opening. But this is the logic, or um, the logic of the scenario, a given scenario here in this activity. We are going to open a file and then copy that file. After copying the file, we are going to rename the new file. Okay, so as you can see, here's the function for renaming the file. Here's the function for creating another file, and here's the function for opening the file. All right, so let's have the next slide. All right, so we reached Module 7 quiz and Module 7 test. Please answer those to proceed to Module 8. That Module 8 would be our last topic for this um, for this book. Right, so guys, thank you very much, and this concludes the 6th session, part 2 of the Diverse Mobility Front-End Development Program. Have a good day, and thank you.